Alan Wake 2's expansion, The Lake House, released on October 22, 2024, just 5 days short of 1 year after the launch of Remedy Entertainment's Alan Wake 2. While the primary game launched to critical acclaim, The Lake House was not so nearly well received, sporting a 72 on Metacritic and just a 69 based on user scores. The Lake House released on PC, PlayStation, and Xbox. For this look at The Lake House, we'll be focusing on my experience on the PlayStation 5. I'm Mental9R, and this is a Caffeine Entertainment game review. The Lake House expansion on Alan Wake 2 dives into the eerie depths of Remedy's connected universe. Set in a mysterious Federal Bureau of Control facility near Cauldron Lake, the story intertwines brilliantly with the lore of Alan Wake and Control. You play as FBC agent Kyrian Estevez, exploring the aftermath of an experiment gone awry. The narrative is tightly paced, delivering both suspense and meaningful connections to the larger universe. If you love Remedy's lore, this game could be considered a must-play for you if you want to see how the stories intersect. I found the story to be decent, but not at the level of the main game. It was more linear, which is okay, but it felt somewhat basic, for lack of a better word. Visually, as I said in my Alan Wake 2 review, the main game was one of the best looking games I've ever played. I can't really say the same thing for the expansion, however. It's not a bad looking game by any means, it's just that the setting isn't overly diverse. The lake house itself is situated near Cauldron Lake, an area already steeped in supernatural phenomena. Architecturally, it resembles a blend of a research facility and a bunker, with concrete corridors, secure doors, and an atmosphere that's both clinical and dark. The interior design is that of a modern scientific installation, with an eerie remnants of previous experiments, creating an environment where the boundaries between reality and the supernatural blur. Aesthetically, the lake house design is heavily influenced by the style seen in Control, with an abundant use of concrete, flickering lights, and areas where the physical world has been altered by the paranormal. The design of the facility is clearly to evoke a feeling of confinement and dread. When the lights aren't flickering, they're typically pretty dim, and there's also plenty of dark areas to go along with it. Overall, the visuals are solid, but didn't provide the same wow factor that the main story in Alan Wake 2 did, at least not for me. In terms of performance on my PlayStation 5, things are quite good. To me, that's kind of expected given the much more confined areas the game takes place in. It's nothing like being out in the semi-open world of Alan Wake 2 where the view distances can be quite far. In the lake house, they're generally quite short. As expected, you're inside a building. I didn't notice any major frame drops or causes for concern. Overall, the expansion seemed to hold 60Hz very well. Like Alan Wake 2, the audio in the lake house was very well done. As expected, I could easily tell where and when enemies were appearing based on the audio in the game. Just like Alan Wake 2, I found the audio in the lake house to be rich in quality, and it did a great job of adding to the atmosphere of the game. As with its parent game, the DualSense controller was well utilized in the lake house. No surprises here, I would expect nothing less. Overall, the controls once again felt crisp and responsive. Like Alan Wake 2, exploring the environment in the lake house is rewarding, although not to the same extent, simply due to the fact that you're in a much more confined space. When we think about replay value, it really does depend on you. Personally, I don't see me replaying it anytime soon, perhaps in a year or two, but given the length of the lake house, it's not like I'll forget what happens anytime soon. On the positive side, the story deepens the Remedy universe. The visuals are solid and maintain the series' artistic reputation. As mentioned previously, the audio design is rich in quality and definitely lends itself to the psychological horror experience. And of course, the performance is smooth with no major technical issues. On the downside, well, the puzzles are somewhat simplistic and they kind of lack any semblance of a real challenge. The Lake House expansion is also pretty short, and that may leave some players feeling like there could have been a lot more, and you could probably count me in on that. And don't expect any new major gameplay mechanics. It's really just limited to how you'll fight certain enemies that you encounter. So, where does all that leave us? Alan Wake 2: The Lake House was fun. It expands on both the world of Alan Wake and Control, and brings them both together in a nice tidy package. I enjoyed my time playing through it, and the new mechanics, although limited, was an interesting twist. I'll admit, I died during my first encounter with one of the new enemies, and I quickly learned to run away until later in the game when I could effectively battle them. The bottom line, I'm giving Alan Wake 2: The Lake House a 68 out of 100. As I said, it's a fun expansion. Unfortunately, it's just a bit on the short side, and of course the environment is limited, being that you're inside of a building. Even if that latter part is expected, I still think they could have done a little bit more with it. All that said though, I do believe fans of Remedy and fans of psychological horror will find the game entertaining. So, for all those fans of Remedy out there, I would say pick the game up on a decent sale and have some fun. Well, that's all I've got for you. Thanks so much for joining me today for my take on Alan Wake 2's expansion, The Lake House. If you stayed with me this long, I'd greatly appreciate it if you could drop a like, subscribe if you're on YouTube, and follow if you're on Rumble. And if you could share this video out with a few of your friends, that would be greatly appreciated as well. I'd also love to hear from you in the comments below. Have you played The Lake House? Let me know what you think. Once again, I'm Mental9R, this is Caffeine Entertainment, and don't forget, it's time to wake up and play some games.